Okay, so we are standing in Southampton.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
We're about to go on a honeymoon.
We're going on a honeymoon! And if we just spin around, spin.
There we go.
We're going on a butte! Yay! For context, we recorded this footage a few years ago when we went away on our first cruise for our honeymoon. We loved Independence of the Seas, and because news has dropped that she's set to return to the UK from 2025, we thought we'd share our experience with you. We swiftly boarded the ship and of course couldn't wait to have a look around.
Go ahead.
Fun together. We're actually here. Now, as this was from a few years ago before we started vlogging, I'm going to be narrating through. Now, this was our room. We loved it. It was really nice. We had the key, which is one of the add-ons that Royal Caribbean offered to get lots of little perks, which we will show you along the way. Here's the little bathroom. It's so cute. One of the things we really loved about Independence of the Seas is the amount of windows and space there is to actually look out and take in the views of the ocean, which of course is what an ocean cruise is all about. Now, this is in the main dining room. It is such a beautiful, vast dining room on Independence of the Seas. It's across 3 floors and it all feels very warm, welcoming, but with a touch of elegance. Now, you'll notice in this video that we didn't get much footage of us eating, and it's just as well, to be honest, because in 2025 we are going to be going back onto Independence of the Seas, and we will of course review it in full. Now, this area is Playmakers. This is the onboard sports bar. We love this place, which is weird because we don't really like sport, but the food and drinks and service were all great. And this is a view of some of the main pools on the main deck. Like I said before, it's very spacious. As you can see, there's lots and lots of sun lounges, so lots of space to take in that Mediterranean sun. And talking of the Mediterranean, on this sailing we cruised for 14 nights and sailed all the way from Southampton all the way around the Mediterranean. Now, it wasn't particularly bumpy on the Bay of Biscay because people always warned us before we got on that it could be a bit bumpy. It was fine, but the weather could have been a little bit better, apart from this beautiful sunset, of course. Most evenings we made our way over to the Grand Theatre to watch some amazing entertainment featuring the amazing Greece. And also, it was just a joy just to have a walk around the ship at night because they lighted up so nicely and you just saw a nice quick shot there of the onboard nightclub. On the third day, we arrived in the beautiful Gibraltar for our first port call. Oh, this port is absolutely beautiful, and I wish more cruise lines would stop here because it is truly one of the best ports we've ever visited. Now, because this was our first cruise, we were a little bit nervous about taking an excursion that wasn't booked through the cruise, just in case anything went wrong. So we did book through Royal Caribbean, and for our first ever excursion, we went on a dolphin safari, and let me tell you, it was one of the best we've ever done. It was incredible, as you will see very shortly. The crew aboard this excursion were amazing. They were so positive, warm and welcoming. Now, one big tip for you guys, if you ever go on this specific excursion, try and stand at the front because you definitely get the best view. Don't be tempted to take those seats, unless of course you have to. Whew, we were glad we were not on that plane. That runway looked scary. As we headed out to sea, we started to see some dolphins, and it was so good to see them in real life and not in captivity. We were so grateful to see them even from this distance, but I tell you what, look at this. This excursion was an absolute dream come true and a must for anyone that is a fan of dolphins. But of course, every trip does vary. We got very lucky, but hopefully if you go along to one, you'll get as much luck as we did. Shortly after, we headed back to the harbour and got this beautiful view of Independence of the Seas. Isn't she a beaut? The centre of Gibraltar is absolutely beautiful with lots of cafes, shops, restaurants to choose from. Our only wish was we had more time to spend in this beautiful area. Hopefully one day we'll head back. Shortly after, we headed back onto the ship to take in what this beautiful ship had to offer. Now, this is the main promenade area of the ship, and it is absolutely beautiful. To the right is where you'll find guest services, so if you ever have any problems, of course go to them and they will indeed help you out. As you can see, there's loads of places to sit down and take in the sun. There always seems to be some kind of entertainment on, which is great.
In 3, 2, 1, flow!
When we're at sea, we never tire of this view. Later in the evening, we headed back to the Grand Theatre to check out a comedy illusionist. This is where one of the perks of the quay came in, because quay guests do get reserved seating. The next morning, we woke up in our second port of call, which was Ville, France. Ville, France is a beautiful little port, as you can see from here, and you can get the train either in the direction of Cannes or Nice. As Ville, France is a small port, we had to get a tender in. Ville, France is a beautiful little port, and our only regret, to be honest, is that we didn't stay there rather than going over to Nice. Now, don't get us wrong, we enjoyed Nice, but that said, this place in hindsight looks so much nicer and it's a lot quieter as well. And for any fans of Absolutely Fabulous, the movie, this is where a lot of the scenes were actually shot. Where are we, love?
We're in Nice.
We're in Nice. Yeah, it smells amazing. Like, delicious.
Bing, bing, bing.
Cheeky little nod to Ben and David Cruisers there. Nice was a nice enough place, but for us, it just lacked a bit of charm. We didn't feel like there was that much to do. Of course, you've got the beach, you've got the shops, cafes, restaurants, that kind of thing. But aside from that, it kind of felt like anywhere else. So in hindsight, if we could choose again, we'd have gone to Cannes instead. Earlier on, I mentioned that we had the key. The key is something that Royal Caribbean have as an add-on. So you pay per day for it and you get lots of perks such as free Wi-Fi, priority boarding, priority seating, and lots of other bits and bobs. Now, this played really well for us because there was a separate queue to board the tender just for key members. That meant that we skipped the majority of the queue and got to get onto the tender nice and quickly. We did feel very cheeky doing it, we must say, but hey, it was great, we can't lie.
Morning.
How you going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Where we go?
Pisa.
Yay! The next morning, we docked into our next port, which was La Spezia. Now, this port is more of a gateway port, meaning that it gives you access to other places such as Pisa, Florence, and lots of other places. It just means you need to get a coach or a train to those specific destinations. Now, on our way over to Pisa, the train did break down and we were lucky to get back onto the cruise on time. So I guess it is a little bit of a lesson learned that if you take the risk and don't book directly with the cruise and something like that happens, the ship might leave without you, so don't let that be you. It was worth it though, we had a great day. Here, of course, is the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And while we're here, we took a look around the shops and we sat down. We had some beautiful pizza, which for the life of me, I'll never know why we didn't record it or take a picture, but take it from me, it was absolutely beautiful. As the Pisa sun was starting to get the better of us, we decided to head back to the ship and see what else it had to offer. We decided to be brave and check out the Flow Rider. The Flow Rider is Royal Caribbean's very own surf simulator. How crazy is that? On a cruise ship, there's a surf simulator. As you can see, we had a really good time. Oh, there I go.
Ben!
I'm so mean, aren't I? I couldn't resist. One of our favourite things about cruising is sail away, and you cannot beat a sunset sail away. Stunning. The next morning we docked into our next port, which was Naples. We took an excursion which took us all the way up to Mount Vesuvius and also to Pompeii. And this excursion was great. It was an all-day one which lasted, I believe, 6 hours. Now, we found out on this trip that Ben isn't good with heights. He kept getting vertigo. So if you aren't good with heights, maybe give this excursion a miss. Today, Mount Vesuvius is the only active volcano on European mainland. Its last eruption was back in 1944, so we were reasonably safe, but it is safe to say we were a little bit nervous. But these views were absolutely worth the risk, in our opinion. Shortly afterwards, we got back onto the coach and scaled our way back down this impressive mountain to get on our way to Pompeii. Pompeii is full of history, as you can well imagine. It was a very busy place to come and visit, but we are so glad we did. I think what amazed us most about this area was all of the beautiful art that was still there that had remained over all of these years. It's truly staggering. It gets very, very warm and hot in this area, so if you're going to check this place out, especially if it's due to be sunny, make sure you take a hat, cap, or even an umbrella just to shield yourself from the sun, because there really isn't a lot of shelter. After a long day, we headed back on the coach to the ship. Independence of the Seas has got its very own ice skating rink, and we came to 2 of the shows, and they were both very good. Definitely worth checking out. The next morning, we woke up in Caligari, Sardinia. We didn't book any excursions through the cruise company this time, and we didn't go into the town centre. What we did was book a taxi down to the nearest beach. The beach was pleasant, not overly crowded, and there was a little beach cafe as well, just in case you needed any refreshments. This is a great beach if you plan just to lie back, relax and enjoy the sunshine. That said, if you're planning to get into the water, it's fine for a dip and a swim, but if you're planning to snorkel, I wouldn't massively recommend it because it was pretty cloudy and there wasn't that much sea life to see, sadly. After the short taxi drive back, which I think was around 20 minutes, we headed back to the ship to see what else was going on. On the Royal Promenade, they have an assortment of shows that happen from time to time, such as this disco night. Whilst on board, we also went to the theatre to watch the Broadway show of Grease. This show was truly amazing and definitely worth a watch. The next day we woke up in our last port of call, which was the port of Cadiz. Cadiz is a beautiful place to check out, so definitely get off the ship if you do stop off at this port. There's lots of little parks, cafes, restaurants, shops, and lots of these little alleyways to go ahead and get lost around and just enjoy. As we made our way through the town, we stumbled upon this beautiful little beach. We couldn't believe our luck. The sun was out, it was pretty quiet, so we decided to lie back, relax, and enjoy the sun. The last few days of our cruise were made up of sea days, so we had plenty of time to explore the ship. On the last days of a cruise, it's not unknown for shops to put on special sales, so keep an eye out for those deals. Royal Caribbean are also known for putting on amazing parades. This isn't our cup of tea, but I'm sure if you're into that kind of thing, it will go down a treat. Whilst we were on this cruise, we did take out a drinks package, and you know what, we took full advantage of it. Royal Caribbean have a really good variety of lots of cocktails, wines, beers, and for us it was well worth it. But of course, if you're thinking about taking one out, check out the price and see if it's worth it for you. After being on this ship for 14 days, we were really quite sad to be getting off. We've really enjoyed our time, and if you get the opportunity to go on to Independence of the Seas, we'd highly recommend her as a ship. She might be a little bit older, but you know what? She's got a lot of love in her. As a final bon voyage, we had a premium breakfast as part of the Key program that we told you about earlier. This was a beautiful breakfast and a very nice treat for our last morning. It even featured steak.
So, buy a little room.
Buy a room. Buy a honey room.
Oh, we're so in sync. Thank you so much for tuning in. It means a lot to us. If you enjoyed this content, please do give us a thumbs up as it helps us a lot. And also, if you'd like to be kept in the loop for when we release more content, why not subscribe? After all, it's free.
Yeah, you gotta hit subscribe. Yeah, you gotta hit subscribe. If you wanna know when we got more, yeah, you gotta hit subscribe. You gotta hit subscribe. If you wanna know when we got more, yeah, you gotta hit subscribe.